Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of the CCC Digital Brief with Mark O'Loughlin and the Cloud Credential Council. Now today we are joined by Rajiv Dua. Now Rajiv, you are an independent IT management and digital transformation consultant and trainer. I believe focused on many of these best practices that we know, for example, ITIL, COBIT, DevOps, Agile and many more. And you're also a member of the CCC Global Expert Panel. So great to have you on today with us. Rajiv, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
At the outset, Mark, thanks for an opportunity to talk to you. I think it's pleasure talking to you. As you mentioned, I evangelize IT best practices. I'm very passionate about IT best practices. I have been in IT services all along. Worked
Yes.
for over 10 years in global IT service providers, then end user, and for the last 10 years into consulting and training. So I share people how I succeeded, how I failed, so that they can draw more out of their IT investments. So I do a lot of trainings, and these are all integrated training, and I'm really passionate about how cloud can be used to enhance digital transformation journey of the organizations.
Yeah, and I guess organizations, first question coming up is all about transformation at the moment, whether they said about it or not. But to get us started, Rajiv, we're in the midst of this global pandemic. Now, we know this, it's a global crisis. We're in the middle of it. Tell us, in your experience, how are CIOs managing today's COVID-related challenges to keep their enterprises going?
So Mark, it was so sudden and so prolonged. No matter how mature you were in your BCP maturity, I think all of us went through a major status check.
Mm.
But what I've seen is some of the CIO really have come out really well. Their teams really supported, their business really supported. So they ensured continuity. And since they have done a lot of work earlier being on cloud and things like that, and I think they are moving ahead. While there were some who had some challenge, yeah,
Mhm.
they found it difficult to maintain continuity, and I personally feel I think they must have drawn a lot of learning out of it. Yeah, a lot of learning out of it. See,
Yeah.
the way I look at it, I think when Industrial Revolution 3.0 happened, we computerized in 1980s. So a lot of people felt digitization is equal to digital transformation, but what we have seen now is people truly understand. One, digital enablement is must to go, and with gap widening between digital laggards and digital leaders, I think virtually everyone is saying we need to transform. I only hope they really understand what digital transformation is, so that they really act, do the right steps.
We could do a whole day on the difference between digital transformation and what people think digital transformation is. One of on a recent brief that I did, we spoke about digital acquisition as opposed to digital transformation, and how organizations have, let's say, acquired digital products and services and technologies, but without fundamentally changing how they do business or their fundamental business model. They're not actually doing transformation. They're just acquiring extra technology that we call digital today, um, without actually getting any real business change. So maybe that's one of the challenges at the moment is, are you actually acquiring digital technology, which is great because we need to do that for global communications, or are you changing your business? And we're going to look at a case study that you spoke about recently later on in this call about digital transformation and how simple changes, changing a business model, is really what it's about. So I'm looking forward to coming at that. Another thing you said, I think, what may have helped the CIO agenda and organizations make these changes is we all had what's called a burning platform. We all had a reason to make change. A global pandemic is probably the biggest reason you're going to have to make changes in IT. So
True.
even for those organizations that were struggling to change, struggling to adopt cloud and digital services, there's this phrase going around at the moment, what caused your digital transformation strategy? And the answer being COVID-19, you know. So I think that
True.
helped, but you said something very important. Some organizations got it right, some didn't, but they learned. And I think that's important, that mistakes probably were made, challenges came at them. But I always say if we're learning, we're improving, we're not failing once you learn from it. And, have you seen many organizations learn from the challenges that they faced recently?
Oh, absolutely. And I think if they don't learn, they will continue to fail. And before I further talk about it, I think let me use this forum to briefly explain what digital transformation is, because what COVID-19 exposed is, are you digitally enabled or not? It did not test whether you have transformed the business model or not. But what board took an attention is people who are truly digitally transformed look at their net worth. They are far, far ahead. So I personally feel, digital enablement is one step to go, which most organizations did. And as you rightly mentioned, some of even the top management felt, if I acquire Zoom, Team, and these tools, I am digitally transformed. Definitely not. And as you rightly pointed out, digital transformation is about transformation of business model, not using IT at an operational or technical level, but at a
Mhm.
strategic level. Yeah? You are doing the same business very differently, that's Amazon, or you are doing a very different business. Yeah. As a result, you are far
Yeah,
ahead of other. And trust me, some of the organizations learned it and they are moving ahead, while other, even the top leadership, and that's the reason it didn't happen in some organization, they were basically giving sound bites or possibly doing pilots, yeah, or fake digital. Those guys are rudely shaken, and it's good, because kindly note, the reason these organizations have huge net worth is digital is equal to value, and value for all, whether it is employee, whether it is consumer, or whether it is business. So I personally feel, I think there's clear distinction which has happened between CEO, business executives, and CIO who started walking on the digital transformation. They are now far, far ahead. So one,
mhm,
their stand got validated, and these guys, what I have seen in my conversation, which happens at a CXO level and at a practitioner level, they are saying,
yeah,
now what do we need to do is quickly look at and make sure we change things very fast, because other organizations have learned. So the race is going to become even tougher. It's going to become tougher. Yeah. So
yes, yes,
I personally feel, clear separation is happening between true leaders and managers, clear separation happening between IT enabled companies and digital enterprises. So I am pretty positive. Yeah. I'm pretty
yeah,
positive from an IT perspective. That's why my blog clearly mentioned looking things from an IT perspective. I feel sad uh, because of this pandemic, because I think all of us got jolted, whether it was health system, society, or economy. But
yeah.
the way I look at it, maybe we are marching backward to jump really, really forward. And let's hope that happens.
Oh, absolutely. I think this, let's say, crisis has pulled many organizations 5 years into the future, which is not a
True.
bad thing. But as you said, I love that phrase, digital equals value. It's not technology, it equals value
No, no,
related to
no.
some form of business transformation. And you've got to understand what that value is. You won't find it in the technology, it relates somehow to the business. But you've got to use the latest technology and the latest digital
Correct.
services
Correct.
to get extra value. Otherwise, you're
Correct.
back in traditional world. Fantastic. If people listening to this just take that away, I mean, that's a good use of their time. Now, Rajiv, can you tell me the impact of the lockdown from an IT perspective? Was it different for the SME, the small and medium enterprises, as opposed to the large enterprises, or was the effects very similar?
Uh, so, so let me See, the way you have architected your IT, that made a difference. Are you ready or not? Yeah.
Yes.
What I have seen is many of the SMEs uh, are on cloud, but a lot of large enterprises, and especially the enterprises who are on legacy applications, yeah,
Yep.
the core platforms were largely not in cloud. So the moment lockdown happened, and it was truly sudden,
Yes.
truly prolonged. So if even if you have your data center, you have to make sure your people can go there, yeah, you and manage. While SMEs who were largely on the cloud, they had no challenge because there is no way you can equate a cloud and a private data centers because of the reliability they have multiple zones, they can make sure they have a scalability, availability, reliability. And that's how, look at what Microsoft said. We had 700% increase. Zoom said in December we had 10 million connects, and then
Yeah.
200 million connects. And did we see and face any problem? Absolutely not. I personally feel, I thank cloud service providers and their maturity. People could operate from the comfort of their home. If it was not the case, then trust me, you have to keep the organization going. So you will be under tremendous pressure to somehow manage. So I thank the maturity of cloud service providers.
Mm,
And
yeah. And I think when you think about an SME, individuals, so just individual people, were more equipped to deal with the effects of the pandemic as it happened. As you said, it was quick lockdowns in many countries. I guess because they carry a cloud in their pocket, a cloud
correct,
communication device. Their mobile phone gives them social access to all these services, communications. Where
true,
if this pandemic had happened 20 years ago, it would have been completely different for businesses of all scale, but also individuals, whether it's working or personal or whatever that is. And that's truly the change in the last 20 years, really, is this cloud enabled technology and
absolutely,
services that you now consume, but you don't necessarily need to know all the nuts and bolts of how it works. You just consume it. Like we don't have to
absolutely.
understand how Facebook works or anything like that, or Zoom
No,
works. We're here to consume it. Now, so cloud usage has been on the increase because of COVID, but um, say for today, are there still top three reasons for organizations, for a CIO, to think about going to cloud, or is COVID the only reason to go to cloud?
no. I don't think cloud COVID is the only reason. COVID is going to accelerate the moment. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, it's the
So
accelerator. Yes.
oh, absolutely. So I think roll back 20, 30 years back. If you buy IBM, you will not kicked out. Today, if you are in cloud, it's politically correct. Yeah, you need to have strong reasons why you're not on cloud. Yeah,
Yeah.
or why it's not cloud native or why it's not cloud ready. So the way I look at it, if today all of us believe it's a digital era, there is no point in being on a physical real estate. You need a digital elastic real estate, which is cloud. And
Mm.
if we are talking about transformation, we are basically saying innovation. If I'm saying innovation, I'm talking experiments. And what better than cloud? Yeah, you pay as per use. You go for any model which you want. So I personally think, and today what they have seen, everyone has seen, anything which was on cloud could scale, where other places there has been a challenge. So I personally feel there's all the reason to move to cloud now, because cloud is, see, these are basic technologies, these are not differentiators. It's how you use it makes a real difference. As you mentioned, we need to know the user and then
Yeah.
look at a business model and use this various offerings which clouds have to create that differentiator. Yeah,
That's interesting. I guess for people that look into the history of cloud, you can trace back the fundamentals back to AWS or a version of it in 2006. So, say 14 years of cloud now, it's being developed year on year. But I guess, are we at that point? You use the phrase, it's no longer a differentiator. Are we at that point where it's not the differentiator, but it's how you use it? That's a phrase that you said, I think. So it's a case of use cloud because it's not a differentiator now. It should be steady state services. It's well developed, well trialed. There will always be new services added in, but you're not experimenting as much with cloud today as we were 10 years ago and finding out what worked and didn't work. I think, is it a case of what you're saying? It's there to be used and consumed. It's another model, but it has all these advantages. It's not the differentiator per se it could have been 10 years ago, but you've got to use it and figure out the value link back to that, what we were talking about earlier, to get the differentiator. Is that where we are with cloud today?
Oh, absolutely. Kindly note, when we are saying innovation, I want to do experiments, and cloud
Sure,
is a place to do experiment.
sure.
Pay as you use, and it offers a kind of scalability which I am looking for, elasticity. And let me quote one of my participants. I asked him, "How do you create infra on a private data center?" And then I asked a cloud user. He says, "Very simple. I go to the cloud marketplace, which could be AWS, Azure. I need to
Mhm.
know my requirements. I hit next, next, finish. And the cloud infra is there with me."
Isn't that wonderful?
It
I
is
mean, try
as
doing that
simple
20
as that.
years ago.
It is
To do
as
six
simple as
months
that.
of a procurement process to get infrastructure, where now we just go click, click, click. Yeah, I think the
And Mark,
benefits.
what I have seen is it is this which is bringing two bitter enemies together. CIO use our staff for a capex. Today, CIO doesn't have to ask for a capex. CFO just have to create OpEx, see the worth, and then keep on increasing as the value comes. So I think it's a huge opportunity for CIOs, CFOs to work together, and they have been brought together by the cloud
Well
and
said.
focus largely on business.
A marriage, a marriage to last. There is, I don't know the answer. There's a consideration, I guess. We won't explore it too deep today, but the capex to opex always intrigued me. And sometimes you still want to use capex models for reasons, financial reasons at least. But the opex model is driven by revenue. And interesting in these times where revenues might be challenged by organizations, um, could that have an impact on their ability to pay for cloud under an OPEX model, where now they should be thinking about, maybe I need to find other ways to finance the OPEX because I might not have it from revenue, for the next year or so because of COVID related challenges. Do you think that's on the minds of the CIO and the CFO at the moment?
See, to my mind, I think if you're not sure of your revenue, it's better to go on the OpEx model. Why commit? Why commit? Yeah. And please note the rate of change is only going to increase. New
Yeah.
technologies are only going to come. Why should I invest in them? Yeah. I just need to
So
give it a try using cloud services. And they keep on
yes.
increasing their offerings.
So by that you're saying instead of investing in the infrastructure like before, just
True.
use the OpEx model to use the little bit that you need. Um, okay, fair enough. And again, I guess a challenge might be for organizations to understand the impact of that OpEx against revenue in the environment
True.
that we're in. And if you're seeing challenges with it, don't run away from it. Don't necessarily switch off cloud because of it. There are different funding models. That's all the capex and
Absolutely.
opex. It's just a funding model. So just look at it from a funding perspective. But what you're saying is you're not putting out huge amounts of outlay at the moment. So
Correct.
it may actually be better, but don't get caught out just by linking straight to revenue. I like that. I think they need to think about that a little bit. Um, was there any big impact on the cloud providers because of COVID-19? I mean, from their ability to provide services, Obviously, their revenue models probably increased, or maybe not if they were giving access to these things for free. But do you think there was any impact on the cloud service providers?
Oh, I think they are the happiest lot. Look at their net worth. It's amazing, you know. So
Yeah,
I personally feel if you have to value a company, look at their net worth, look at the
yes,
share price, because which
true.
factors not only your current price but future potential. Amazon, Google, yeah, they
Yeah,
they 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 have they're probably grown up like anything. Look at enterprise users who have been using cloud because of the continuity they could maintain. Their net worth is going up. Organizations who were not using or who were not able to scale, as I mentioned, because of the private data centers, they are taking a hit. So I personally feel, it has proven more. You don't need any more data. Yeah,
I love that phrase.
yeah,
Absolutely,
because
absolutely.
ultimately it's numbers, it's convenience which people have observed. And Mark, what I personally feel is if you want to go digital, most difficult is to get acceptance from the consumers. Today, because of the social distancing requirement, consumer is saying, please serve me digitally. Your peers who used to resist, uh, you had to give them a lot of reasons. Now
So you're
they're saying,
saying,
oh, we want to be digital. Yeah. Then I think for CIO and for CEO, it's a huge opportunity because today you have all these people wanting to go digital. Yeah. So if I am the CIO,
yes,
Mark, what I will do, quickly look at my strategy. I need to revisit because it's going to be a new normal. Quite possibly, as you mentioned, my revenue may take a hit, so my budget may take a hit. But having said that, I will quickly assemble a team at a executive level, including CEO,
mm,
quickly revise our strategy, reprioritize our projects, and then have another cross-functional team, which includes business, IT, security, risk, compliance, and kickstart the projects. Truly
that's
kickstart the projects.
that's
Yeah.
very interesting there. From that consumer perspective, but also because I did want to ask you where organizations are today. I mean, do you suspend your digital transformation project or initiative today because of COVID, because of uncertainty, because of potential impact to revenue, because of we've done so much change that we cannot do any more change? Do you suspend your digital transformation? Do you keep going with it, or do you change it? Uh, what views do you have on that, Rajiv?
No, no. I personally feel if you have been watching people who have excelled and who couldn't, I would not suspend. I would suspend those long term projects which are not going to bring me value in the short term. As I mentioned,
Right.
I need to look at the strategy. Maybe depending on the budget I have, I'm going to reprioritize. If I am actually going to accelerate digital transformation rather than slowing it down, yeah, because you don't need any more data. Yeah, you don't need any
Yeah.
more data. Yeah,
Yeah,
any
even
more data.
we have enough. I love that. I love the optimism. Do not suspend, actually accelerate your digital transformation initiatives. The phrase is coming to my mind. You wrote about it last week. Never waste a crisis. I know you use that phrase in your blog. It's fantastic. I want to ask you about that. So, Rajiv, in a recent blog you've put out on LinkedIn, it's really good. You spoke about COVID-19 pandemic, a crisis or an opportunity from an IT perspective. Um, Now, in that you mentioned a company called Ferns and Petals, and how I think this is great because it's such a simple change, but simple examples are the best because you can only get bigger than them. So, Ferns and Petals, I believe, some flower company impacted by COVID-19, revenues down 80-90%. Tell us how they use this crisis to change their models using digital technologies transformation.
Yeah, sure, sure, sure. So, uh, so in case if people who haven't read the blog, they are leading florists. So if I have to give someone flowers, I'll go to their shop and you can pick up a bouquet or they can send it across. So the
Yes.
moment lockdown happened, so people are going to have birthdays and various other events. So they took a huge hit, 80% drop.
Yes.
So the executive committee met together and says we need to do things differently, and says okay, people need to be gifted. We need to celebrate events and even all the more. So let's, instead of sending physical gifts, which is not possible, let us start a e-commerce portal, which they already have, yeah, where the revenue was very, very limited. They started where you can go and buy a musician on call. So if you have a birthday, someone is going to sing for you. You can learn guitar classes. So they came up with that, and within the pandemic itself, their revenue increased by 18%. So what I'm
I,
saying is, yeah, it everything is possible provided you are ready to change. Yeah.
but provided you're ready to change, everything is possible. Don't waste a crisis. Digital
True.
transformation, accelerate. Fantastic. I mean, that's really good. And for example, I mean, as you said, it's a virtual musician from Ferns and Petals, but through, I guess, a Zoom call or a Teams call or something like that,
Correct.
that you wouldn't have thought about before. But now you're getting as much as a personal experience as you can in the environment that we're all accepting, because we're all accepting everything is done virtually now. And from a health perspective, it's safer to have it that way. We still have a birthday, and we got this thing happening, which is really good. They also do celebrity video message, I believe, which is fantastic. And as you said, they had
Absolutely.
a bit of an e-commerce. They didn't use it too much, but that that was the technology bit that they could change. The business change was virtual musician, celebrity video message, and then I guess those suppliers having to change how they did their business, because the musician isn't turning up to an event or to a doorway now, they're turning up to doing it online. So they have to change their technology and how they do business themselves. So there's this kind of trickle down effect as well, that as an organization changes how it does business with technology and digital services, its suppliers, if they want to stay in business, may also have to change. I think that gets missed in the conversation as well, that the suppliers either need to change and keep themselves updated in their models as well as everything else.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. So Mark, supplier is also an organization. They are watching what is happening. So,
Absolutely.
so trust me, we have had uh, music contest, chess competition, yeah, celebrities singing, uh, doing these events, making money, keeping something with them, and
Yeah.
contributing for the social cause. So, Ferns and Petal was not singing. They basically contacted people and used available platforms like Zoom,
Hmm.
Teams. The
Yeah.
only thing is, it's all about thinking of a business model, and you
Yeah.
have suppliers available and connect them. We have internet, yeah, just use this. So I personally feel it is just the thought process, it is just the desire to leverage crisis as an opportunity, as I mentioned in my blog, and that's what they did.
And they did it so well. And I love now linking digital transformation to a thought process. That if we get people thinking like that before they go to the technology, think about
Correct.
it, have a thought process, think about the model, think about the change. This is a fantastic leap from digital technology into thought process. Another takeaway, I think, for our listeners here to go away and think about that with a very simple example. Um, of ferns and petals. To finish with, Rajiv, the pandemic is leading us to a new normal, which we're all kind of experiencing right now, a new way of things. What do you think should be the next one or two steps for CIO and top leadership, to leverage this change where we are today?
So as I mentioned, uh, it's a new normal. So I need to revisit my strategy. Yeah,
Hmm.
I need to reprioritize my projects by bringing top management together, by bringing practitioners together, and then get going.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a journey. It's a journey. So there could be two types of CIOs. One who did things well. So they are a hero. As I mentioned in my article, they are COO and CEO in the offing. But there are some who couldn't do it because they did not get the right support from the
Yes.
business teams. Now all these people are there to support. And the third categories of CIOs who themselves are not ready, I think the lesson for them is please reinvent. You
Yes.
got a last chance. You got a last chance because people today are looking at digital models. So again, it's business, but technology and business are going to work together. You cannot be taking orders. You need to work as a partner
Fantastic. I
and
love
share
that.
them with the power of technology.
Working as the partner. I love that phrase. I think that that's very interesting. What you said, if you haven't been successful for whatever reason, not necessarily a personal reason, but if you
Correct.
found challenges in the organization,
Yeah.
budgetary constraints, that all changed a few months ago, and we're still in this change because technology has kind of come to the fore. How important it is, we all found out. Without it, we would not be working the way we're working across the globe. We would not be doing all the health and everything else we're doing. So I think that really brought it to the front. Don't waste a crisis. Get the thought process going. All that other stuff we spoke about is fantastic. I'm going to have to go back and listen to this again and take notes. I think there's been some really good stuff.
So before we leave, I think people in technology should feel this is the best time to be in technology because
I think
technology is
so.
everywhere. But only thing
Yeah.
is think business and use technology.
Think
Don't use
business, use
technology.
technology.
Don't use technology for the sake of technology. Look, I passed out from a engineering college, so I was a hardcore technologist. In fact, I was the first supercomputer engineer in India, Cray. But then when I did my MBA, I learned you need to think business and use technology. So I sincerely
Yeah.
appeal to everyone: think business, use technology, and you have the best of the times ahead.
I think that's fantastic phrase to end on. Think business, use technology, and also use the right technology. Rajiv Dua, thank you so much for joining us today on CCC Digital Brief. Thank you, Rajiv.
Thanks, Mark. Pleasure talking to you. Thank you.